Hello and welcome to week 8 of our League Pick'em series. My name is Chris, and join with me is my on again, off again, terrible friend Jason.
Oh, wow. Okay, Chrissy. Look, Deshaun Watson had his career ended this week, and I'm about to end yours.
Mahomes meat writer for sure. All right, let's get right into the meat and potatoes. First up, we both went 11 and 4 last week.
Pretty good day on the links, I think.
Yep, we both tied in our contested picks, but we'll get down to it. And for the season, I am leading by 6 with a record of 72 and 35, and Jason has a record of 66 and 41.
68% pick percentage for you. Not bad, Chrissy.
All right, let's get into last week. First up, we've got the Broncos dumpstering on the Saints. And we both predicted Denver to win this, and they did handily. And my defense made out with a cool 41 points for this one.
Yeah, I was surprised that Denver looked so dominant in this game. New Orleans showed a couple flashes on offense, but really just looked bad overall.
Yep. And then next up, we've got this genius call by Jason who predicted the Jaguars to steamroll the Patriots, but one of them had to win, am I right?
One of them had to win. Jacksonville, I think, was out to like a 35 point lead, something like that early in the game. This was not even as quote unquote close as it looked on the scoreboard.
Yeah,
Jacksonville, when they're on, can actually be good.
I was all wrong about the optimism energy. I thought that this would be a pretty close game and that New England would take it, but that did not happen in London.
Yeah.
And then next up, I think this was the only pick that we both picked that we were wrong about this week. The Seahawks, and I think you have to call it an upset the Falcons this week, and
Yeah.
it was not close. And I am honestly surprised just how hard of a time the Falcons had against the Seahawks. I didn't get this game in my area, but I always keep an up on my boy Kirk, and he had a real rough day. 3 turnovers from Kirk.
This is not that a few people in my Survivor League. Yeah, like Seattle's defense, Speaking of on again, off again, right? Sometimes they look amazing, sometimes they look pedestrian at best.
Yeah,
This one they looked great.
Geno Smith somehow is like sneakily the second or third best quarterback in fantasy in my league right now. So who would have thought that?
I certainly wouldn't have.
All right, next up we got the Bills, who decisively stomped the Titans. Feels good.
Yeah, this was my Survivor pick for the week, and I was getting a little scared when Tennessee went up 10-0 in the first quarter.
Ah,
After that, it was just all Buffalo all day. They are so good.
yep. All right. Oh yeah, and then Amari Cooper actually got a touchdown in this game. That was cool.
Yeah, this is cool. Look, Cleveland is like, all our tools must go.
Yep, and speaking of Cleveland, the Bengals had a very close game against Cleveland for some crazy reason. I guess their defense is still pretty good. And then, of course, the
Uh,
big news is Deshaun Watson blasted his Achilles, and now he's out for the season for like the 4th time in a row in Cleveland.
I'd say ding dong, the king is dead, but like, what's the opposite of the king? The pauper? Ding dong, the pauper is dead. This is great to see. I might be the world's number one Deshaun hater, and my only regret is that we don't get to see him be crappy for another 10 games. There are actually apologists out there being like, oh, he was doing so good before he got injured. 15 for 17. They ignored the fact that that was for 127 yards on 17 passing attempts. Man, he was just the worst quarterback in the NFL. The Browns were so bad on third down this season. And I actually looked up the stats. He failed to throw a 200-yard game in 7 weeks. Deshaun Watson did. So
Yeah.
after that, they brought in Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I believe, who proceeded
He got hurt
to throw
too.
less than what?
And then he got hurt too.
Yeah. Oh, did he get hurt? I thought they just pulled him.
Yeah, and then Jameis Winston had to come in.
Yeah, exactly. I thought they just pulled him after he threw for less than 100 yards and 2 picks. And yeah, then they finally went to the actual best tool they had on the team, Jameis Winston, who was fine, I guess.
He definitely
This
has
game
way
wasn't
more.
nearly as close as it looked. With just a couple minutes to go, the Bengals were up 21-6.
Yeah, the
So yeah, the Browns are just an absolute garbage fire, and I think even with Jameis, right? Like when you're paying a shitty quarterback $280 million, you can't afford to build the rest of your team. I
yeah.
would say around him, you just can't afford to build the rest of your team.
The one cool
I
thing
don't.
is that Nick Chubb in his return game from his insane injury got a touchdown and ran for like 50 yards in this game.
Yeah, that was cool. It was amazing what Flacco did with the team last year. But they're just so far over their cap, but they're being hurt so much for it. It's just like this is a team that just is not even going to be able to get into rebuilding mode for probably a couple years, even though they're trying by shipping off other good players.
All right, next up, we've got the barn burner between Texas or Houston Texans and Green Bay. And this was very close, and I was very lucky to have called this one correctly.
Yeah, this was a fascinating game. Did not come on in my market,
I got to watch this one.
but I did have my eye on the drives, and just the back and forth of this game was fascinating. What was the coolest thing that happened for you?
Well, CJ Stroud only got 6 fantasy points in this game. Joe Mixon got most of the action, is my takeaway. So I think the Packers looked a lot better than the score indicates.
Okay. Yeah, Green Bay is an impressive team this year. I don't think a lot of people had high hopes for them. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Packers fans did, and hey, good on you guys. You were justified.
Yeah, I think they'll only get better too, honestly.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, they're still young, they're still learning, and they're good. Houston, is this damning on them at all, or was it just they lost to a really good team playing like above there?
I mean, there's a reason you picked Houston. I think
Yeah,
most people think that Houston was the better team, and I agree. I think Houston was favored, even at home against the Packers. But there was just something I've seen about the Texans where they looked a little shaky against some of the better teams, and that's why I picked the Packers because I think the Packers are going to put up more points consistently, even in defeat. Whereas I think the Texans still are a little shaky, especially on defense.
you think? I mean, I'm not saying necessarily with how well they played, but in terms of just with how the actual game went, do you think that Houston would have won this if Nico Collins were playing?
I mean, based on how CJ was so bad in this game, and
Uh huh.
their defense was also bad. I mean, I get, and it's only a 2 point game, so I guess you have to say yes. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I mean, Stephon Diggs also had a really bad game, so I don't know, man. That's tough to say.
All right. Yeah. Just kind of an off game for Houston, I guess. Then we've got Miami and Indianapolis, where it
Yeah.
both hurts my heart. Picked Indianapolis.
Why don't you walk us through this game, right?
Yeah. So this actually went off to a really good start for Miami. We were up 10-0 in the first quarter,
A lead?
and what? Yeah, really, really. And pretty much couldn't put anything together on offense after that. Jason Sanders missed an important field goal, which also probably wouldn't have mattered, but at the time it was important. Um, yeah, Miami's defense looked great in this game. They were stopping Richardson almost every time. Occasionally, Richardson would kind of get away and get a first down. But they sacked him a bunch, I think. Certainly hurried him and made him throw a lot of bad passes. Indianapolis could not run the ball. And Miami's run game looked okay. It was just really the pass game was terrible. And part of that is Tyler Huntley was playing okay, and he got injured too. So we had to bring in Tim Boyle, um, who, as the announcers were so keen to point out, and Boyle played for like half the game, but they pointed out at the end, Boyle has never put together a game-winning touchdown drive in his life. And
Yeah.
this was no exception. Watching him throw the ball 4 yards out of bounds on fourth down on our final chance to run down and score a touchdown and steal this game back It was just like it really is the story of the Dolphins' offense this season after we lost Tua.
Yeah, but I hear Tua is coming back next week, and they're only 2 games down, so it's not the end of the world.
We need to get Mike. Well, he's coming back to practice. There's still no definite timeline on his return to play.
Oh, I heard
Uh,
that there's a chance he could come back next week.
there's a chance, but it's more likely it'll be a few more weeks.
Oh, well,
I hope he comes back, and I hope he doesn't get concussed again.
unfortunately, Dolphin has
Um,
like a huge lead in the division right now, or Buffalo, I mean.
oh yeah, yeah. Look, we're not going to catch Buffalo. It's all about trying to chase the 7th seed right now for Miami. What they really need to do, really right now, in case Tua gets injured again, is go out and get Mike White. Go out and get Ryan Fitzpatrick off of like his say his couch. He's doing like FanDuel commercials every week.
No,
He's probably like chained in some dorm.
He does the Thursday pregame show.
Yeah, that too. They let him out of his FanDuel dungeon for that. Getting back into football, you know who they could really like realistically go for? Someone like Malik Willis, I think his name is the Green Bay backup.
Why would they get rid of him?
Why would Green Bay get rid of him?
Yeah, he went
Just because,
like 2-0 or something.
as long I know, like he's great, but like if like Miami is willing to trade him, trade over the right draft picks, I think they'd be willing to say, look, we'll roll with Jordan Love and we'll develop the next backup quarterback. Green Bay's backup quarterbacks are always so good.
Yeah,
They turn into starters and they perform really well.
You need to convince like Matt Ryan to come out.
Could be something like that. You really need like somebody, I think, with like a flexible like I don't know that Matt Ryan would work great in Miami's offense as much as he's like a fine quarterback.
Maybe Phillip Rivers will give it a go. All right, next up, and this will be my victory dance of the week. The Lions end up beating the undefeated Vikings, and I remember someone saying, "I don't think the Vikings will get their first loss at home."
Yeah, I mean they almost didn't, and also I don't sound like that. I don't sound like that at all. Yeah, good pick, man. Two very good teams playing here. Amon-Ra was a beast. Yeah, like you said, Goff played incredibly well. We were talking about this a little bit before we started the video. And no shame on the Vikings. They played well here too. This game was so fascinating in the way that both teams were out to huge leads at different points, and then it came down to a firefight at the end.
Yep, it was definitely close.
I love the way that Dan Campbell coaches games. Like, he might be the best coach in the NFL. I don't think a lot of people would say he is. I would say he probably is.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to watch.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we've got the Eagles dumpstering the Giants. And we both picked the Eagles, but with how I've actually thought the Giants would be a lot more competitive because both these teams have been floundering a little bit.
Yeah, I think we did say this would either be a close or an unpredictable game. But yeah, as much as Philly has played sloppy at times, they just out-talent the Giants by so much.
Yep.
Obviously, hindsight's 20/20, but there was always the potential for Philly to score the blowout here.
Oh, I agree. I just think they have way more talent, yeah.
Yep.
And then we've got the Rams with the tiny win over the Raiders. And both these teams are pretty awful right now, too. But the Raiders are definitely worse.
Yeah, I don't even know that I call the Rams awful. There are definitely like glimmers of light on this team. They have two, I think they're both rookies from FSU in the secondary. It's Fisk and Verse. And, they're playing pretty well. It's harder than you would think to actually to pass on this team in particular. And so yeah, the Rams are pulling out wins that you wouldn't think they would. They're pulling out maybe some wins that you think they would, like against the Raiders this week. We both had them to pull out the ugly win, and they did.
Yep. And then we got this close game between the Redskins and the Panthers where Jaden Daniels got hurt towards the end of the game,
You're being facetious, right?
of course.
Okay. Yeah, my sister was actually in Maryland this week. Shout out to her. So she went to the game with her husband, and said it was kind of a weird atmosphere after Daniels got hurt real early on. But that at points it was still electric. The fact that they were able to put up 40 points with Mariota, and granted, like their defense did some of that work, and granted it was against the Panthers, still an incredibly good sign for the Commanders.
Yep.
Yeah, normally like a good team who's being carried by their quarterback, you would expect them to probably like have to pull out an ugly win even against a bad team after they lose their quarterback that early and maybe their game plan's in some disarray. No, man, they just kept running the machine like nothing had happened. And in addition to that, really good news: Jaden Daniels, who was my prop bet last week, I said he'd have 5 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels' injury is looking to me not as bad as it was initially thought. His mom had actually tweeted, I think, during the game, he's fine.
Yeah, honestly, that's probably one of the best injuries you can get, football-wise.
Your ribs?
Yeah, I mean, there's a
Yeah,
lot of
well,
times players have played through like cracked, punctured ribs and
you've
punctured
got a lot
lungs
of
and
Tony
stuff.
Romo memories, I'm sure.
I mean, it'd be much worse if something happened to like his throwing arm or his feet, you know. So,
Was he announcing this game by any chance? I know this was at the 4 o'clock hour.
no, Tony did the Lions game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would have been would have been a moment if Tony were there to see the Jane Daniels rib injury.
I
But
don't,
anyway,
I
wishing
don't.
him all the best. He's a great guy. What an absolutely incredible talent, and hope he's back soon. But big props to Mariota for running the machine in his stead.
And then next up, we've got the Chiefs beating the 49ers. But personally, I think this game was a lot closer than
Blah
just a
blah
10
blah
point.
blah blah.
I know, we can go on
The
forever.
49ers scored in garbage time when the Chiefs didn't care. This was a lot less close than it looked, is what it actually was.
Yeah,
The Kansas City, and I will grant you, because I know that you're a Mahomes hater. Um, I will grant you that Mahomes had his first bad game of the season. Um, but the fact that he could do that and the Chiefs still dominated a decent San Francisco team this thoroughly just shows how incredible their defense and their rushing game are.
all right.
Even Mahomes had a really good rushing game. I think he had 2 touchdowns on the ground,
Just
and
one.
he had that like 40-yard run.
One good run, one touchdown.
1 touchdown on the ground? Okay, and
Yeah.
he also had a 40-yard run at midfield.
Wasn't 40, but it was good.
It was 38, wasn't it?
I think it was like 23 or something, but it was good though.
Pretty sure it was 38. It was the one where they thought that he was about to go out of bounds.
Yeah, I
They
know,
didn't
I
get
know,
him. Yeah,
I know.
I think that was 38. But anyway, yeah, like, his throws were a little bit sloppy. There were a couple drop passes. It didn't matter. What's so impressive about Kansas City's 6-0 run is they did that making a lot of mistakes. The fact that, like, they are playing so far from their actual upside cap. I think this is just the easy early Super Bowl pick at this point.
You're so crazy.
San Francisco, like, they just don't look the same without CMC, which is weird because they looked good a couple years ago without CMC.
Well, he's by far not the only person that has is
Oh,
banged
I
up on
know.
their
Ayuk,
team.
Debo, but I don't know. I think even if you had them, I don't think they're competing with Kansas City. I guess that's all speculation, but still, yeah. Look, San Francisco, if they can get healthy, they'll be in contention too. All these star players will have rested from their injuries.
All right,
And
let's not dwell on this mediocre Chiefs squad.
man, Kansas City's amazing. All right, then we had the also contested game, New York Jets and Pittsburgh. And tell me one more time why you thought the New York Jets were actually good enough to beat these Steelers.
Okay, well, follow my logic here, but
Okay.
yes, they were very not terrible, but very mediocre their first like 5 games. But since they fired their head coach, there has been like a shift in play calling and like drive extended. They've been way better their last 2 games than they were their first 5 games, and
Didn't they
yeah,
fire their head coach after last week? Saw that? Was that 2 weeks ago?
they've played 2 games now with the new
Okay.
head coach,
And
and
how has it worked for them? 0-2?
yeah, they still
Yeah.
haven't been able to put it together, but
I
they've
don't think
been
they
way
look
better
competitive
on
in either game
drives.
either.
This one, yeah, this one just really got away from
They were
them.
looking against Buffalo. Yeah, Pittsburgh on the other side of it, looking very impressive. Some of those touch passes by Russell Wilson were really a thing of beauty. I don't think you're always going to be able to throw that type of touch pass right to the corner of the end zone and actually make it work, but some of those one-hand grabs by Pickens especially, but also Freiermuth, were just really impressive to watch. You know, we thought that Pittsburgh would be a mediocre, defensively minded team this year, and they're just exceeding all expectations. If not for a bad call a couple weeks ago by the refs that the NFL actually admitted they had made a mistake on, they'd be 6-1 right now.
Yeah, they've definitely exceeded expectations going into the season.
It's a really cool story, and you think about the AFC North being Pittsburgh, um, Baltimore, and Cincinnati. You know, if they can clean up their game, really all in contention to not only make the playoffs but be like real threats in it. And then the Cleveland Browns just being flushed down the toilet.
Yep.
Cool division.
And next up,
Speaking,
we've got this other barn burner from last night, the Ravens and Tampa Bay, and this was a pretty cool game to watch. I actually watched this by myself, and the Ravens did really, or the Bucks did really well, and then the Ravens did stupid well, and then in like the last 10 minutes of this game, the
mhm.
Buccaneers scored like 20 unanswered points and recovered an onside kick, but it like wasn't enough. It
We were
was
watching this, right? And
yeah.
like Baltimore was in control the entire game after the early lead by Tampa Bay. The entire game, they could not be stopped on offense. Baker wasn't able to do anything for that middle part of the game. But more importantly than that, those points in garbage time were garbage time points. That's all they were. Baltimore at that point had no desire to score. They said, "We're going to run the ball 3 times in a row, and if you can stop us, that's nice. We'll give the ball back to you." And a lot of the time they couldn't be stopped. That's how good Justice Hill et al. Derrick Henry were running the ball. Um, and eventually, they'd get 3 stops in a row, and they'd give the ball back. But Baltimore had no interest in scoring in the fourth quarter. This if Baltimore wanted to put 60 points up in this game, they probably could have. If they were willing to take more risks, there was just no reason to. What's even worse about all those garbage time points is the fact that you lose Chris Godwin, who I think was the highest scoring fantasy receiver this season.
Yep.
And is, fantasy aside, a really good player in his own right. Um, with a minute to go, down 2 touchdowns. There is no reason to be airing the ball out when you're doing that. I really wish they would just implement a mercy rule into football. Maybe just like not let a team kick 2 onside kicks in a row, because you're never going to recover 2 in a row. The fact that they got 1 was a miracle. This was just so sad to see, and
Yeah,
look, fantasy
Evans
stats
got
are
hurt
fun.
too.
Evans got hurt too, but like it was the one to Godwin was so freaking unnecessary. Like if you're down 3 touchdowns with 3 minutes to go, this isn't Peyton Manning against the Buccaneers in 2004. Okay, the game result isn't changing. Maybe give your third stringer some time, or just sit on the ball and run it out. This was so disheartening to see. A great athlete's season end, maybe his career end. Hopefully not. over something like this.
I agree with you. I wish they just kneeled down because the fact that they kept playing, I was playing against Baker Mayfield this week in fantasy, and I ended up getting a tie. And before this game started, I was 71 points up, and all I needed was Baker and Chris Godwin to
I've never heard of a
not
fantasy league
combine.
having so many ties as yours.
I know this is only the second one this season.
Yeah, in 7 weeks you have 2 ties around a fantasy league. That's wild. Anyway, final game of the week was on ESPN Plus, so no one got to watch it.
Yeah, this one wasn't nearly as exciting, but the Cardinals were not behind this whole game. They were ahead most of this game.
Didn't they score 10 points in the fourth quarter?
No, this was a very like back and forth, but not very exciting game. No, the Cardinals were sitting at like 7-0 for a very long time, but they didn't score that 7 until the end of like the second quarter. It was like 0-0 for the whole.
Chargers had 5 field goals to make up their 15 points. I think Justin Herbert's star is fading a little bit.
I don't think he was good to begin with.
Well, that's either like an insane prediction or a really bad take, depending on.
I don't think Kyler Murray's that great either.
He was. Oh, that's a less insane take. But yeah, Justin Herbert in his first 3 years, no one was ever going to deny that he was a star. All right, then we had our prop bets. You thought the 49ers would have 5 rushing touchdowns. They only had 2 rushing touchdowns. Kansas City had 4 rushing touchdowns. You should have taken the other side of that game. And then I had Jaden Daniels to have 5 touchdowns and the team to miss one of the extra points on those touchdowns. Hard to do when he's injured after his first 2 throws.
Yep. All right, let's move on to Week 8. Let's see what we've got here. All right, first up, on Thursday, we've got Minnesota Vikings going to Los Angeles against the Rams. Even though they just lost a game, I definitely have to go with the Vikings still, just because I don't think the Rams have enough pieces back together.
Yeah, if I took the Rams, as decent as they look, even without Cooper Kupp, as decent as they look, if I picked the Rams now, I'd be jinxing them. I'm taking the Vikings, and let me just say how wonderful it is to have a full slate of 16 games again this week.
Yep, no buys this week. All right, next up we've got Baltimore heading to Cleveland, and I have to believe that Jameis Winston is going to make them a bit more productive than Deshaun Watson. And I think Nick Chubb will look even better in this game. But obviously the Ravens are the super duper heavy favorites for this.
Yeah, you could take out the quarterback and just run the Wildcat every play. And Mixon will get more yards to the team than Watson did in any game this season. Jameis will certainly be an upgrade. It doesn't matter. The Ravens are so good. We have to take them.
Yeah, and kind of the next thing in this other game, we got the Titans going to Detroit, and the Lions are just so hot right now and so good offensively and not bad defensively either.
We have some lopsided games this week. It'll be interesting to see if we get any huge upsets like we did the first few weeks.
Yeah, last week had so many crazy games, but this is the first time I've seen the schedule though, so we'll keep going.
Yeah, the Lions are the obvious favorites in this. The Tennessee Titans don't look good against any halfway decent team. Lions at home, don't pick against them, especially not against tea time.
Next up, we've got something slightly less lopsided. We've got the Colts going to Houston to play the Texans. I guess Anthony Richardson is now the full starter again, so take that for what it's worth.
I believe. Oh no, Houston beat Chicago in week 2. I was gonna say I believe that Houston played them in week 2. Oh, it looks like Houston played them in week 1 and beat Indy, I think by a small margin. Yeah, often you get a close matchup here. Indianapolis did not look good against Miami's stout D. I don't think I can justify taking them. As much as I do think this will be a close game, I'm going to take the Texans, especially at home. How about you?
Oh, of course. I mean, even though the Texans look dreadful, uh, to be more accurate, C.J. Stroud looked dreadful last week. Joe Mixon's
Uh-huh.
been killing it the last 2 weeks since he came back, and I see no reason for that to change. So yeah, I'm definitely got to go with Houston too. Be crazy to pick the Colts.
If you gave me 4 or 5 points, I would take Houston. I
Well,
would
I'm
take
not.
Indy. I mean,
Well, I'm not.
okay. I just do really genuinely think this is going to come down to like a field goal.
I mean, I guess it could be close. I don't think it'll be close.
I mean, fair, man. I'm about to be a hero again.
Well, you want to pick the Colts? Go for it.
And I realized that I did say Mixon a couple games ago on Baltimore Cleveland. Who's Cleveland's running back now? Is it Ford?
It's Nick Chubb, my guy.
Chubb. Yes, Chubb. Oh my God, he's such a meme in my WhatsApp group. I brain fart. Yeah, Nick Chubb. All right, now we got Green Bay, Jacksonville. I know who you're taking.
Well, I think the vast majority of America would take the Packers. I don't care if the Jaguars just upset the Patriots or whatever you want to call it in
And Toilet
London.
Boy
I don't care the
7.
Jaguars are playing at home. They've been wretched. They're lucky to have won the 2 games they've had. I mean, there's absolutely no. I don't think the Jaguars are sneaky good or anything like
There
that.
is
So,
there. It's not so much that the Jaguars are sneaky good as they have upside. They really do. Are they going to exercise it this week? Probably not. If I can get good enough odds, I actually will probably include them in my round robin parlay this week. But as far as just a straight pick, I'd be foolish to take Jacksonville here. Green Bay is looking so impressive. I haven't given them enough credit this week. This season. I'm gonna go ahead and give them the credit here. I think they're gonna cleanly win this one.
yep. All right. This next one could be a little
Oh,
more interesting though, because as bad as the Dolphins are, I actually think the Cardinals are very Jekyll and Hyde-ish too. So even though
yeah.
they just won that game, I don't consider them some kind of vast favorites against the Dolphins by no means. Cardinals are so wildly inconsistent. They'll like take a game off like the 49ers and then barely beat the Chargers and then lose to some other dumpster team. So
Are you willing to make my heart flutter and jump on the Miami bandwagon here?
no, I'm saying as long as they don't have Tua, I'm gonna go with the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Miami's quarterback situation just looks so bad that I don't think it's gonna happen.
If they had Tua, I would definitely pick the Dolphins though.
Yeah, I just if Miami had a quarterback, it's an easy pick for the Dolphins here. They have not fixed the quarterback situation. I don't even know if Tyler Huntley is going to be able to play this week. I didn't follow his injury, but especially if it's someone like Tim Boyle or they're just getting some random third stringer off some other team, it's just not going to work. Arizona all the way here. I hope I'm wrong.
Sucks having to consistently pick against your own team, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
I feel your pain.
Well, you just wait
Okay,
till Dallas, San Francisco.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, next up we've got Aaron and the Jets going to New England against the Patriots, and you know where I stand. If it's even remotely like close, and I do think going into that game, Jets Steelers, I don't think it was like they were too far apart. I don't think a lot of people knew Russell Wilson was going to be that great out of the gate, you know.
Well, that was a
So
surprise.
yeah, so I'm gonna go with the Jets again. They've been
No
given
matter
Brees.
how many, no matter how many old, Green Bay receivers they try to recruit to the Jets, it's not going to stop, the Aaron Rodgers-led offense from looking mediocre. Uh,
As long as they have a mediocre matchup, I'm gonna pick the Jets for the win. If they're gonna go up against a big heavy hitter, then I'll pick against the Jets. But
Unfortunately, I do think that mediocre will probably be just good enough to get it done against Drake. I'm
I'm
taking the Jets as well.
this new head
Uh,
coach has been given like Brees Hall like 30 touches a game, and he's been dynamite since this new coach came in. So
Brees Hall has been like fine when he gets. He's looked very good when one of those touches is like a screen pass. On the actual runs, he's getting stopped almost every time.
Yeah, he's not really a go up the middle back. He's kind of like go out the sides or catch something back. But he's
Yeah,
still
that's
real
fair.
good.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that can be a really productive tool.
He's
It's
kind
just
of
they
like a
really badly
Le'Veon
need.
Bell. You know?
Yeah, they need a better like every down back that can run up the middle.
So you're taking the Jets too,
I'm
reluctantly?
taking the Jets too, in a
I
close game.
I
Yeah.
know that hurts. All right, next up we've got the Falcons in a divisional game against the Bucks at Tampa, and it really hurt my confidence to watch Kirk lose against the Seahawks because I was pretty sure he was going to clean their clocks. But that was disappointing. And then watching how hard the Bucks fought against the Ravens last night, they looked
Mm-hmm.
so good for a while, and then they still managed to put up a shitload of points. I know some of that was garbage time, and
They looked
at,
good at the beginning of the game.
there's probably almost zero chance that Evans or Godwin will be in this game.
Well,
With
there's definitely 0 on Godwin.
yeah, Evans looked
You know,
pretty bad,
we'll see
and
if he
Evans
has
was
a
already hurt.
leg. By February.
Okay, get back to me with those amputation results. Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, this is a tough one because it's like I don't know. The Bucks are so explosive. I think I'm going to go with the Falcons though. They barely beat the Bucks earlier in the season in overtime. I'm going to say without Godwin, without Evans probably, and the Bucks
mhm.
have a pretty mediocre run game. Even though in that game it looked somehow good for the first time in like 2 years.
Yeah,
I'm
I
I'm
don't.
going with the Falcons though.
I think you're just following the trend too much, even thinking that this is going to be a tough pick. I had the Falcons as one of my easiest picks of the week here. Tampa Bay certainly has flashes where they're very good. They're also kind of Jekyll and Hyde this season. Um, but I'd say hide your picks because I think Mr. Hyde is coming out without Godwin or Evans. I don't think they're going to be nearly the team that we even saw last week or yesterday. Atlanta as an easy pick. Just because they struggled in one game doesn't mean that they're a bad team now.
All right, so you're going with the Falcons too?
Falcons in a blowout.
I don't know if I go that far. That'd be pretty cool though. And then next up, we've got the Eagles going to Cincinnati, and this has also got to be a bit of a closer game. I mean, when the Eagles are on, they're on, but the same is true with like the
Yeah,
Bengals.
they're two sloppy teams with a lot of potential that each need to clean their game up.
Yeah.
Neither gets the benefit like they did last week of playing against an absolute crappy ass team.
Oh, this is tough. I look at the Eagles, and they're like so stacked in terms of like talent, and the same thing's true of the Bengals. But as you're fond of pointing out, the Bengals have like the worst defense in the league.
Yeah, they are at least playing at home though. This is a
Uh,
tough call. You want my call?
yeah, let's hear it. What do you got to say?
I'm going with the Eagles. I think that they have more consistently at least approached their potential than the Bengals have this season.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Eagles too. That's funny.
All right.
Yeah. Well, no
Man, we are
contested
just
picks
picking
so far.
all the way the same so far. We've got 7 more chances to bring some spice.
All right, next up, we've got the absolute death spiral Saints.
Yeah.
5 losses in a row. Really
Looking
doing that
dreadful in
Jacksonville
Mossberg.
LARP against the Chargers in Los Angeles, fresh off of their loss. Yeah. Whew. What a stinker.
You know, all the NFL fans listening are just so happy to hear about LARPing.
I'm going to declare this our shit bowl game of the week because I think Cardinals and Miami will be closer.
Okay. You sure it's not going to be Dallas San Fran?
Well, both the teams have to be bad for the shit bowl, not just one.
Okay, fair.
Okay. Yeah, this is actually I don't know. I mean, Derek Carr's still not going to play in this game, almost certainly. So I guess you got to give it to the Chargers just because their defense has been trending up, and the
I think
Saints are
so.
just like KIA basically.
I think so. Like the last time the Washington Commanders lost a game, I think they had 7 field goals. The Chargers just had 5 field goals. What did Washington do the next week? They managed to score on every single possession of the game and blew out my chances in my survivor pool when I picked against them. Let me not make that same mistake here. I'm going to go for the Chargers as well.
Yeah.
I think at least they can get into scoring territory. I'm not so sure the Saints are going to be able to do that this week.
All right, next up we got Buffalo going to Seattle. And I would have said the Seahawks had no business beating the Falcons, but they did, and it wasn't close. It's very depressing. This will be a
Yeah.
home game for Seattle, but of course the Bills are one of the best teams in the league. They looked a little shaky, but now they're a little back in form. Got Amari Cooper in the action. Josh had a really good game or Sunday or whatever. So, yeah.
I saw some interesting videos of this guy that's currently on Survivor, the show, not the type of NFL pool, being body slammed multiple times into a folding table at the Bills tailgates. So that was fun. Uh, besides that, I got to take the Bills Mafia here. I mean, every single part of their game is looking so good right now. All 3 phases of the game, especially their offense, just very impressive. You got to take the Bills in this one. I still think they're probably the second best team in the league after Kansas City. You've got the Bills as well. You said, right?
Yeah, I got the Bills. I would say it's like Baltimore, Detroit, Buffalo, then Kansas City. Honestly.
Wow, taking Kansas City off the podium. Okay.
I don't care if they're 6-0. They've been the ugliest wins possible.
That just proves how good they are.
That's one way to look at it. Okay, next up we've got Chicago, who is doing very surprisingly well this season against the Redskins, and pretty sure Jaden Daniels is going to be back in this game, right?
I don't believe he will be. No.
Oh.
Let me look it up real quick as you talk about how easy the Commanders' win is going to be here.
I don't think it'll be super easy. I think the Bears have impressed a lot of people. I think the Bears' defense has been shockingly good, really blowing past people's expectations. I think Caleb Williams has gotten better and better and better since like the season opener.
Uh-huh.
I honestly think their trajectory is extremely similar to the Redskins, except the
It's
Redskins have a
surprisingly
shit
promising.
defense. So
It's surprisingly promising, and I don't think their cap situation is too bad either. So like they can just keep growing. If they actually look competitive at the end of the season, they can start taking on some good free agents or get trades before the deadline. Looks like Jaden Daniels is week to week, with a possibility he'll play this week, but also no timetable on his return, so it could be a few more weeks.
well, that really
Uh,
affects my decision.
yeah, oh, absolutely.
I'm not
Like
really sure Marcus
Mariota,
Mariota.
Mariota is not bad. We just saw that. But Jaden Daniels is amazing. Um, I can't let you take like a split bet. We make our picks on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then whatever happens during the week happens. Um, so what do you want to do on this one? I'm taking the Commanders for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, all right, I'll go with the Redskins too. Though I think if they don't have him, I would favor the Bears. But
All right, our first difference of the week. I took the Commanders. You took the Redskins.
yeah.
No one took the Bears though.
All right, next up we've got Carolina going to Denver, and this is definitely going to end up, I feel like, being a masterclass in a smackdown with Denver's defense. In fact, I'm gonna make the same prop bet now. 10 sacks, Denver again.
10 sacks for Denver.
Hey.
Definitely more doable this week.
They got 28 on the season already. It's pretty fucking crazy. So.
All right, you don't need to make this part of your prop bet, but how many points do you think Carolina will actually score against them?
Probably like 10. 7 or 10.
I think you might be high there.
I know, that's what's tough, but Andy
I don't
Dalton
think
still got
Denver's
it.
even necessarily a great team, but one of the teams in this matchup is not Carolina, and that's the team I'm taking.
Yep.
Carolina, what an absolute garbage fire, man.
Who do you think's the worst between Jacksonville, New England, the Giants, or the Panthers?
I'll tell you who's easily the best there, and you didn't say the Browns there, by the way.
Okay,
I
and the
think
Browns.
yeah, I think easily the best is Jacksonville. I think they are actually a team with potential that could turn it around. I don't necessarily think they're going to, but I think first of all they'll win 5 games this season, and I don't think we can say that about any of the other 4 teams we just mentioned. As far as the worst, woo, man, it's a tight race between Carolina and Cleveland. I would say probably Carolina. At least Cleveland has a defense that's playing for respect.
Yep. All right, getting towards the end here. We got Kansas City going to Las Vegas against the Raiders. This is a divisional game in their pathetic division.
All right. Well, show us how much you hate the overrated Kansas City playing on the road, and
Well,
pick the Raiders.
just like I said with the Jets, anytime I think it's close, I'm going to pick the Jets. But I don't think this is close, so I'm not going to pick against the Chiefs. I think the Niners had very, very good chance to beat the Chiefs, and they just massively underperformed. Thought they'd do well even with the injuries, honestly, but they did not do well.
Do you want to pick the Jets in this game?
No, I have to go with Mahomes. Probably another heavy game from Kareem Hunt to make up for mask his buffoonery.
Yeah, Las Vegas always shows a little bit of potential. Um, Look, Kansas City, I think, is going to absolutely blow them out and make this a get-right game. I'm predicting a lot of blowouts this week. I'm not even going to make that my prop bet because I think it's too easy. Kansas City to win this by 25.
That's fair.
Or at least to be up by 25 at some point. Maybe they'll, give away a few points in garbage time.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's so incredibly hard to run against the Chiefs D.
Yep. I take nothing away from their defense. There's only one player on their team I give a hard time, and it's no
and
one
I still
but
don't see
Patrick.
why you do. He's fantastic. You just don't like State Farm. That's all.
It's a fact he's been worse in every season of his career.
I mean, that's certainly not an incontrovertible fact. You might be able to make the argument, but how about the last 3 Super Bowls he's won?
Yeah. He has a
He
lot
didn't
of
do
good
that
parts
his first
around
year,
him,
did
a
he?
lot of good talent. But it's
Oh,
a
without a
fact.
doubt. And as much as I said before, I think Dan Campbell is the best coach in the NFL. A lot of people would tell you it's Andy Reid, and
I love Andy Reid. I
aside
think
from the
he's great
fact that
too.
I think Andy Reid is a pretty poor game manager, I think that the actual schemes he creates and the way that he gets his team on his side to play hard for him is unparalleled. The only reason I give Dan Campbell the nod there is because he's also a really good game manager.
Well, for saying who the best coach is, I think the true master is Mike Tomlin of best coaches. Right?
That's a hot take. No question, he's great. No question, Mike Tomlin is great. To put together that many seasons in a row without a losing season, often with very few parts actually working for him, in terms of what the GM was able to put together. Mike Tomlin's very impressive.
I hope he's
For my money, it's Campbell. A few people might tell you Tomlin. I think a lot of people would tell you Andy Reid.
last couple of seasons he's been talking about retiring from the Steelers, and I hope when he finally does retire, and he's still really young and looks great for his age, I hope he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. So,
You think he's going to get into announcing at all?
Mike Tom, no, I don't see him wanting to talk. Definitely not.
Yeah, he's a little bit shy. Maybe he's part of a pregame show or something.
Nah, I think he'll just go do something else.
You think he's just gonna kind of do stuff in his community and live his private life?
Yeah, but he's still got a lot of action left. But the last couple of seasons, he's acted like this might be my last season. I might take a break from football. I might call it quits.
For whatever reason, I could see him opening up a badass burger place in Pittsburgh. At the same way, like like Don Shula opened up like a fancy steak restaurant in Miami. I don't think Tomlin's like a fancy steak kind of guy. I could be wrong. That's just the take I get from him. I think he could open up some badass burger grill.
Okay, let's get back to the video here. Next up,
Yeah, it's like, what am I even talking about at this point?
we've got the Basement Dweller Cowboys going up against the, I guess, also kind of life supporty, IR ridden 49ers over here. Like, Ayuk's done for the season. Kittle sprained his foot. Debo's got pneumonia, and McCaffrey's still not going to play till November. So, it's quite a squad of problems they got.
Yeah, they're all in hospital room 49. Dallas, on the other hand, isn't so much injuries. It's just like they're not playing to expectations, right?
Well, they do have like a fair amount of injuries. Like Bland's out, Lawrence and Parsons, they're good pass rushers. They're both out. Brandon Cooks is on IR. They do have injuries, but here's the thing: before any of those guys got hurt, they were already playing bad. So
Dallas shows up against bad teams, but we have to look at it. Is San Francisco really a bad team just because they have so many injuries?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, they're kind of middle of the pack.
Here's what's going to happen. I already know what's going to happen. The 49ers historically have just had the Cowboys number since like 1996. So this is what's going to happen. Cowboys don't know what a running back even looks like right now this season. So Jordan Mason, he's going to go, or that's his name, right? Jordan Mason. He's going to go off for like, Purdy is going to have the most pedestrian Mahomes game possible. He's going to have like 8 or 10 completions for like not even 200 yards. And then between the three running backs, Mason at the top, they're going to have like 200, 300 rushing yards and a bunch of rushing touchdowns. And that's what's going to happen to the Cowboys. Because the Cowboys just part the Red Sea for like literally any 4th, 5th, 6th rate D-tier running back that comes their way. So that's what's going to happen.
You're calling Christian McCaffrey a D-tier running back?
No, I'm telling you that they'll let anybody just run it up,
Yeah, they have an extremely good line.
Well, I'll tell you what's not hurt, and that's 49ers offensive line and stuff. And they have a great offensive line. So
you're taking San Francisco in this.
Yep.
I can't let you out with 16 in the same picks this week. I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys. I think that the 49ers, hurting as much as they can, Dallas might actually be able to bring the pain this week. I feel like 50-50 on this one, and so I'm going to take the spicier pick here and go for your Cowboys, even though you're a traitor.
Okay, I love them, but if you love them, you also got to be their biggest critic. I
know we're not going to get spice on New York and Pittsburgh here. Pittsburgh just beat one New York team. They're about to crush the other New York team, probably even harder.
Yeah, I think that's smart money. I see no reason for Wilson to be holed up against the Giants when the Jets had a way better defense. So, yeah. They're definitely going to crush the Giants.
And really, I think that the Jets' defense is a little overrated. What if you got Sauce Gardner? They are kind of that, break but don't bend kind of defense that some teams can take advantage over. On the other hand, almost any team can take advantage of the Giants' defense. I don't think this one's going to be close, and we both got Pittsburgh for the Monday night game.
Yeah, it'd be kind of silly not to.
Yeah. All right. So, we're playing for 1 point this week. Joy.
Yeah, sometimes that's how it is. We had one in the past where there was only 2 or 3 contested picks. I don't think we've ever had one before. Last week was so crazy.
I mean, there were only a couple of, there were a few games that I think, like, you could pick either way, talking about things like Atlanta, Tampa Bay that we happened to go the same way on. Indianapolis, Houston, maybe. Overall, I think this is, as much as I'm looking forward to having 16 games this week, I don't think a lot of them are particularly great games.
We'll find a way to make it fun,
Oh, yeah. The NFL scriptwriters, they definitely put in overtime sometimes to bring these games to overtime.
I'm telling you, it would be an incredible moral victory for the Cowboys to beat the Niners because they've lost like 6 consecutive games to the Niners, and most of those have been in the playoffs.
All right, so you've got your prop for the week, which is 10 sacks for Denver. I didn't tell you mine yet. I had this weird feeling this week. Don't at
Let's
me if
hear
I'm
it. Let's
don't
hear
at
it.
me if I'm right because I'm not even on Twitter. Uh,
Neither am
but
I.
uh, but I had this weird feeling that Aaron Rodgers is going to have a career-ending injury this week in a win. He's going
Man,
to go out as a hero, or at least people are going to think of him that way, whether it's justified or not.
I was saying last season or last week, if there was a game he was going to get hurt in, it was going to be the Steeler game. Uh, that's a shitty prop bet, man. Come on.
I just had this weird feeling after what happened to Godwin that Aaron Rodgers is going to go down in like the most meaningless game of all time, and uh,
You'd like that, wouldn't
and
you?
we will never see him again.
Okay, so he's going to get hurt but beat the Patriots. Is that what you said?
That's what I think is going to happen. He's going to get hurt in some way that's going to end his season. I guess I can't confirm the career-ending injury by next week, but he's going to have some type of like ACL or Achilles or something like that this week in a win where his backup comes in and gets just enough done.
Damn. Betting on a player to get hurt, huh?
Not betting, just predicting it as my prop.
What would Yahweh think?
That's Adonai to you.
All right. That is week 8 for our picks. And not too many contested picks, just one, but every week brings new fun stories and interesting things to watch, though.
Yeah, I'm sure the NFL will still find a way to bring the fire. We're bringing the fire on this podcast, and it's just been a fun time with you, man.
Yep, we'll see you guys next week.